I'm going to configure this unit. If you watch the other video about configuring a single unit, that was set up for the console. This unit is going to be set up for the bow. And what I want to do is get this configured by itself initially. And then I'm going to, at the end, near the middle of the video or so, I'll connect it with this Ethernet cable here. And I'll connect it to the other unit. I'll get that set up for you. But what I'm doing is that I will set this thing up so that you can see all the settings you need specifically for the bow. There's a few things that are a little bit different than the console. But one of the first things I want to do is to make sure, let me get these out of the way. It's on the back here. And I keep seeing pictures. I saw one on Facebook, which kind of scary. And I've seen a couple of these in person. People do not seem to want to put these covers on the HDMI port or the USB port. Make sure you do that, okay? When you get your unit, they'll be in this paper bag here. Let me pull it out of this bag so I can show you the numbers. Okay. So this is the bag they come in. And I can't read it. Hopefully you can see some of it. But this is the bag that comes in there. What I do is I take a Ziploc bag, dump all the parts in there, and then take out what I need. It includes spare covers, your fuse, some screws, things like that. But again, put these covers on the units. If you fail to do that, you risk on the 12 and the 16s, this HDMI port getting corroded, and a good chance that corrosion will creep into the circuitry inside and short something out. And next thing you know, you have a dead unit. Very expensive mistake for 2 minutes worth of something to do, okay? So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna take and get this thing powered up. I've got got my test bench set up. I've got an old power cord here. Yes, it's blue. That's what the colors used to be, but the pins are still the same. And I'll get it powered up, get it cabled up, hook up the transducer as well. If you wanna, I'm using my test bench for this because I'm gonna have 2 units running at the same time, but you can use those power supplies that I mentioned before. I'll put links in the description for you if you wanna run these in the house. All right, so let's get going. All right, I've got this unit powered on. Okay, I've got it. While I was doing the initial piece, I did the initialization, basically configured this machine initially. I then connected my tablet to it, so that tablet's letting me record the screen for you. I did a registration on the unit, so everything's done. So now this is ready to start configuring, okay? I've got the auto menu hide set up already. I've got the beeps off, which I despise. So let's go in, let's start this thing, okay? The one thing I didn't do is I should have done it and I forgot about it, is configure the map. So let's just configure the map really quick. So we're gonna do the menu. We're gonna go to more options. We're gonna change our orientation to heading up. I always like that, so when you're driving, even if you're on the bow, if you got a 0.1 on the boat, it's perfect. It always lines everything up. Chart options, I'm gonna set real quick to turn my depth palette on. Depth shading. Okay, that's turned on. I'll turn my shading layer on to depth 1. So now that's all set. So we got that way we want it. I'll go into settings really fast. We'll do a chart. I'm gonna turn my range rings on and my heading extension, okay? So that's, in a nutshell, what we've done for it. I'm using the built-in map, which is the CMap on board. If you want to see more of that in detail, look at the video on 5 things to do, settings for your maps. Okay. So now let's go to a Sonar screen. Okay. And what I want to do is I want to say, okay, first off, it comes up stopped, which is correct. If I need to turn it on, I just hit more options. I touch the stop, unstop the Sonar, and you'll now see it starting to run on the top of the screen. Okay, that's what should happen. What I'm gonna do though, because I'm running it in the house and I really don't want to ping this Sonar out, I'm just gonna do a stop on it, okay? So first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna change the mode to shallow water, okay? And not shallow water, I want to set it to fresh water. If you're in a lake and you know that you're never gonna get, say, deeper than 60 feet, you can run shallow water. It optimizes a little bit different for that. But for example, if you're down on some of the impoundments down south, where they're very, very steep banks, so you back off the bank maybe 100 feet, 150 feet. Next thing you know, you're 100 plus feet of water. Your sonar starts figuring out where the bottom is. So if you set it to freshwater, you'll be all set, okay? So that's the one thing we're gonna do on this screen. The other thing I'm gonna do is I want to set my variables here. I go to settings, okay, scroll up to network. I'm gonna go to data sources. Now, first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the GPS on this to scope it to local, okay? Do a local scope on that. When I hook this onto my boat, I have a NEMA 2000 network. The 0.1 will come up. I'll change this value here to the 0.1, okay? And I'll also have vessel information. You don't have vessel information unless you have a 0.1 connected or some type of magnetic or north sensing device, okay, shall we say. All right, so let's go to sonar. You can see we got water temperature and water depth. We got depth set to local. This is correct, what it should be. We've got water temperature though to global. I want to make sure on the bow I set it to local because I have seen situations where you pull your bow up onto a flat, okay, and the stern's still stuck off the edge there, so maybe it's 8-10 feet water, especially in the springtime. And you'll see like a 4 or 5, maybe more temperature degrees difference in that. And since if you're looking for active fish, they're probably more active in the warmer water than they are in the cooler water. That's opposite for the summer. Some of them may be a little more active in the cooler water. So anyway, I want to make sure that whatever water temperature I'm reading is coming off of my trolling motor. This unit is going to have the transducer coming off the Ghost trolling motor, and I want to make sure it's always using that temperature. One thing about this temperature is that it won't read correctly when the trolling motor is pulled up out of the water, but when it's in the water, it pulls up fairly quick. It takes maybe a couple seconds or so to acclimate to the water temperature, but at that point you're good. So I'm gonna set the water temperature to this device, okay? So, and the way to check that is it says, oh, there's the water temperature, 67.2. So that's the temperature inside the kitchen here where I'm recording. So that's good. So now we got water temperature set. Now we're gonna set depth. We want to set depth to channel 2 on this device because I plugged it into the black connector, not the blue one. Okay, so it's a black one, which is the outer one, okay? And that'll give me my side scan, down scan, as well as sonar, okay? So I want to set this one to specifically this channel 2 on this device, okay? So that leads me to, let's go back. We're going to check one other setting on the sonar, and then we'll come back to this piece here. So X out of this. Scroll up to sonar, okay? And you can see internal sonar's channel 1 is turned off because I'm not using it. Channel 2 is turned on, and I have the ability to network the sonar out, okay? We're going to disable using network depth and temp date. What that does is it lets me ship from this unit to the NEMA 2000 bus the network, the depth and temperature coming from this device to the NEMA bus for any devices that needs that, okay? There are some NEMA devices for water temperature, for depth. There are also some autopilots, things like that. So basically what we're got is, we're just going to disable that because I'm not using that feature. Other configurations, you may have it where you need it. So you turn that on one device, not all the devices, just one, and it's got to be consistent, okay? So that's our basic settings there. So let's come back over to, go back to our settings, go back to network, go back to data sources. Now, we got GPS set to local, correct? We got sonar, both of those set to local. That's what we want. Now, what I've seen, and I know before I mentioned this before, is that the UTC, or the date and time, I basically said, I just leave them the global. Well, what I saw in a situation recently in Buffalo is that it auto-configured to one of the devices on the bow for getting the date and time, okay, which is normally okay if you got all the units turned on, but if you turn off one of those bow units that's sourcing the date and time, now you no longer have date and time on your screen. So what I'm going to do to avoid that problem, I'm going to change I'm going to scope the time to local, okay? And I want to check to make sure it's set to this device, okay? Now, once you have the 0.1 connected, you can configure it to that time, okay? To the time coming off the 0.1, which is what I would prefer to do, okay? The one thing is that you got to be careful if you've got if you're in a tournament and you're on a time zone line. Like for example, there's some lakes that have time zone that are in both time zones. Make sure you don't set it to adjust your time zone on you while you're in a tournament, because you could be an hour off and you come back and you're late, or you're really, really early. So basically hard code that, beforehand. So those are the data sources that I do. Okay. And so everything else is pretty much similar to the console unit. The one thing I haven't done is I haven't named this unit. Okay, so we're going to go in here and come over to network. I'm going to change the device name to B and OW. Okay. All right. So now if we come back to our data sources, what you should see, you can see now it's showing bow, and that's what we want. That way, when you're looking on the network and it says, oh, channel 2 bow, oh, I know exactly what unit that's coming from and what device it has connected to it. Makes things a lot easier when you're fiddling around with things, okay? So now we got the network set up. So now the one thing I do on my bow unit is I like a quad screen. And what I mean by a quad screen is I've got a map, I've got sonar, downscan, and side scan all on the same screen itself at the same time. And it just makes life simpler for me because I can look at everything at once and just process it and go from there. So the way to create that real quick screen is we go over here, we're going to press the plus button, okay? So now I'm going to pull a chart in, pull a sonar in, pull a side scan in, and then I'm going to pull the down scan in, okay? And you notice by doing it that order, I got this down scan under my sonar. I really don't want that, so let's move that over to that, okay? So I got the chart, the map, sonar, down scan underneath that, and then I got side scan, okay? So I'm going to save that. So now that's my screen, all right? So what I want to do is I want to check one thing, is I want to make sure that my side scan is coming from this device, okay? All right, if we start the sonar up, okay, you notice it doesn't say this unit. Sometimes it will, sometimes it won't. In this situation, it doesn't. So we're just going to do a stop sonar on that. So now we'll make sure that we have our transducer working. You can see these lines here on the screen. Okay, so that's just a quick check on side scan, down scan. We got sonar stop, so everything's turned off, so I'm not pinging my transducer out of water. So that's this is our basic screen that I like to use. It just makes it easier for me. And so on the bow, what I want to do is I want to set up these quick access keys. Okay, so if I punch one of them, okay, and I'm just going to hit there, and I'm going to do on the top one, I'm going to change that to my system standby. Okay, I'm going to change the next one to a waypoint. And I'm going to change that to, say, an X. And I'm going to change the color on it to, say, a green X, okay? So I know that if I push this waypoint on this machine, it's a green X, okay? So now my main screen that I want on this unit is the one that I just created. And that one is going to be favorite number 5, okay? Because there are already 4 pre-created from Lowrance. This is the 5th one. So we're going to do a favorite. Scroll up here to page selections, favorite. I'm going to select number 5, okay? And so then I'm going to do my other one. I want to have it so that I have a map and sonar, okay? A lot of guys traditionally run that. I like running the other stuff. So being an engineer, I like to see lots of data. So I'm going to do another favorite. And that one's favorite number 1. That's the first one that Lowrance put in your list over there. So if we hit a save on that, so now we got this set up. If I go through and I hit the 4th button, okay, over here. So there it is. There's that screen, which is the map, and then the sonar over here. If I go back and push this button, now we got the quad screen back. So now this unit is pretty much configured and ready to go on the bow. So the next thing I want to do is I'm going to put my other unit, the one that I pre-configured for the console, up here, power it up, and then I'm going to connect the Ethernet cable back together, again this cable here, and we'll go from there, and that'll be the final checks. All right, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to do a quick network check. Okay, and the way to do that is I'm going to power up this other unit over here. Okay, so we'll give it a moment to power up. So as it's powering up, I've already connected an Ethernet cable between the two. Yeah, this is the old gray one that I tell you not to use, but it's actually a brand new one, but it'll never get put in a boat. All my Ethernet cables are the new black ones. And actually now that the M12 stuff's out, that's what I'm gonna be going with in the future. So we'll get this guy cranked up. Okay, first check, I wanna make sure that they communicate to each other. So the way to do that is hit Pages, okay, Settings, scroll up here to About, touch Support, and believe me, I do this so many times over the phone with people. And so now you can see that I've got my bow unit and my console unit, okay? So they're pretty handy there. So, all right, so that lets me know at least the Ethernet's communicating and the two units are communicating between the two, all right? If I had a map chip in here, I could load the map chip in and you'd see it pop up over there, all right? So that's one check. The other check is I can come over here, and I hit the menu, and I look at my sources, and you can see the sources. I've got bow and console sources here, okay? So I can switch this one easily to go back and forth. And again, this is why I named this unit the bow unit, okay? Because you notice on the very top of that screen, it says bow, B-O-W, okay? If I come over here to the side scan page, okay, we look at the source on that, and you can see there's AIDI, which is the high definition one, which is coming off the other unit. Problem is, there's no way to name that. I wish they had allowed the network naming to come across through that, but they didn't. I've actually asked for that feature to be added in a later release. It's going to be obviously a low priority thing because not everybody names units like I do. So anyway, so those are a couple of quick checks you can do. Let me go back. And what I'm going to do now, I'm going to shut these guys off. I know that it's pretty much configured and the way it's working for me. Shut it off, take it apart, wrap it up, and transport it up to Vermont, put it on my boat. Hopefully tomorrow, if my arm's holding together any better. And then we'll go from there. But hey, I hope you guys like this. I tried to keep it a little bit briefer. If you want more details, obviously the other videos will go into high details on especially on the map section here, and a little bit on the controls themselves. So I'm gonna go through. Let me go ahead and stop. Hit the menu. I'm gonna stop these devices. Okay. And one thing about side scan, down scan. You notice I was on a side scan page when I stopped it. It stops it also on the down scan. So that's kind of handy. Excuse me. So I'll come over to the bow. You go to more options, hit sonar. Now it comes up stopped. So now essentially I have a unit that I can go plug into my boat. I'm not going to hurt anything by being out of the water with the transducers pinging, what I call dry pinging. So we should be able to have these things ready in the water working tomorrow. Hopefully everything will have recorded properly and then you can see that. But anyway, hey, if you guys made it through, I appreciate it. I'm a little bit whacked out right now. So trying to get out of the house, and it's, what is it? Past 10 o'clock, and I'm kind of late. Anyway, hey, thanks for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, I really appreciate it. I've got some more videos coming, and hopefully I can get on the water and start getting those recorded because I really want to show you guys how to use these units on the water to make your life easier, help you find fish easier, help you catch fish easier. Okay, and also navigate, obviously. All right. Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.